Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. I think I'm getting to the point to where I'm done making videos on Malik Scott and Deontay Wilder. I'm just going to go ahead and say this, right? There are a lot of people who feel that I'm biased to Deontay Wilder over Tyson Fury. And that's not the case. I talk about every fighter, and I try to be fair. I always give Tyson Fury his credit. But the bottom line is there's a dark cloud hovering over Tyson Fury when it comes to me. And now there's kind of a dark cloud hovering over Deontay Wilder. Not for the same things why there's a dark cloud hovering over Tyson Fury. This dark cloud hovering over Deontay Wilder, it's called Malik Scott. Let me tell you this. You've heard me say Malik Scott turned Deontay Wilder into Malik Scott. You've heard other people say stuff like Wilder is fighting like the way Scott used to fight, which is basically the same thing. But I'm going to tell you this. If you haven't taken the time, right, to go and look at just a minute or two of a couple of Malik Scott's fights, you're doing yourself a disservice. The fight I recommend you go watch, just the first round. Matter of fact, the first minute and 30 seconds. Listen to this.
First impressions, Paul?
First impressions is that Ortiz is really trying to engage in a fight. Scott doesn't want to fight, but
Remember when we had Michael Moore,
First
who was a
impressions.
good world champion as a southpaw.
Here it is.
First impressions, Paul?
first impressions is that Ortiz is really trying to engage in a fight. Scott doesn't want to fight, but
That Ortiz is certainly engaging in a fight. Scott doesn't want to fight. That's at 1 minute and 10 seconds of the first round. And that's what the commentators are saying. And let me tell you, I was saying that at 30 seconds into the fight. I'm like, what is this? Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I never really watched. I watched a couple, clips of Malik Scott. I never really sat down and watched his fight. I didn't really know much about him until he became Wilder's trainer. But when I sat back and watched, I didn't even get past the first round. I saw enough I needed to know. I saw everything I needed to know. That shit you see Deontay Wilder doing, for those of you who have not seen Malik Scott fight, but you're familiar with Wilder's performance against Helenius and Wilder's performance against Joseph Parker, right? All that movement and not punching. You go watch Malik Scott against Luis Ortiz, the old Cuban Cadillac with 250,000 miles on him. You go watch that. And just the first minute and a half, I bet you'll stop that video and you'll say right now that there is no hope for Deontay Wilder. Because when you hear me say Malik Scott turned Wilder into Malik Scott, you hear other people say it, you cannot arrive at any other conclusion but Malik Scott turned Wilder into Malik Scott. Now I'm watching this, right? And I'm saying, okay, Malik Scott has no power. I'm seeing when he's trying to time Luis Ortiz and set him up for the big right hand. There's absolutely no power. When he's got his high guard up and falling back on the ropes, I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's what Wilder just did against Parker. Even when Wilder was trying to get his right hand off, not having any power behind it, because he's punching while he's moving and not setting his feet. That's what Malik Scott, it's like a carbon copy performance. Horrible. I do not believe. And man, I'm a boxing fan. And I like to be fair. I know some people, they pick a side, don't they, boy? If they're a Wilder fan, they ride and die with Wilder. If they're a Fury fan, they ride and die. Jesus Christ, let's not talk about the goddamn Terrence Crawford and Earl Spence fans. They will run up on you and bite you. Like, they ain't even trying to run up on you and have Claude and Ray and start round 2 of the killing spree. Like, they'll run up on you and bite you. Like, they're ridiculous with this loyalty, fanaticism, or whatever the hell it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, they really go buck wild. But I ain't that guy. And I'm going to tell you right now, Wilder's career is over. Simple. And, you know, I know there's some people like, damn, for what champion you talking? Listen, he can't get any better messing around with Malik Scott as his trainer. I understand that if he calls his career quits, they kept it real, they stuck it out, they stuck together, and that's his boy, his brother, his, you know, whatever. I'll tell you the guy who should be getting that money with Malik Scott, with Deontay Wilder. For me, on the outside looking in, it should be Breland, Jay Diaz, and whoever was there with Deontay Wilder to get him to the point that he reached up to that first Tyson Fury fight and that second Fury fight. And I understand Deontay Wilder feeling like I instructed, you know, everyone in my corner never to throw a towel in because I got the kind of power where I always have a chance. Well, you know what? I just have to say this. I never agreed with Wilder getting rid of Breland. I never did. But, you know, hey, just learning that Mark Breland had connections to the Kronk gym. You just never know in boxing, you know? Maybe there's some foul play. But I do know, I think Mark Breland may have saved his goddamn life. I'm just being honest with you. And in that third fight, I think in that third fight with Wilder and Fury, I think that fight should have been stopped. I do. Wilder had moments, but let me tell you something. Wilder got beat down in the third fight. He had moments. And, you know, I'm not here to talk about what, you know, I'm always talking about Fury and the bullshit, but I just think that second fight was stopped and prevented Wilder from having a pound of flesh taken out of him. And I think that third fight should have been stopped. And as a result, Wilder had a pound of flesh taken out of him. Don't get me wrong, he took a pound of flesh out of Tyson Fury too, but Wilder, maybe Fury had half a pound of flesh taken out of him, but Wilder had a pound of flesh taken out of him in that fight. All because nobody wanted to stop it. And when you look at Wilder now, I think all this is a result of of the second and third Fury fight, and then now giving up Breland, picking up this guy. Jay Diaz even seems like he's shaking in his boots to say anything to Deontay Wilder. Matter of fact, you got to listen. When Malik Scott was talking, he was saying, you know, towards the end of the fight is when they gave Jay Diaz an opportunity to speak. And then he tried to say, you know, Jay Diaz and I, well, you know, the times to the fight where I had to ask him to speak and he would, you know, try to tell Deontay Wilder. But that's not what he said. He said towards the end of the fight, when they allowed Jay Diaz to speak. So that tells me Jay Diaz is there, right? And he can't say nothing. He can't say anything. I'm telling y'all, it's over. Malik Scott can't do anything for Deontay Wilder. Talking about his boxing mind and his skills and, you know, showcasing his being overqualified. Man, if you go watch that damn first round of him against Luis Ortiz, Malik Scott, Luis Ortiz. That's the exact, I mean, I say exact, I mean exact same performance, round after round that Deontay Wilder did against Joseph Parker. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, because a lot of people feel like, well, Wilder was always a bum, he was always trash. Now we're just seeing all he had was a right hand, he had nothing else. He made it through his whole career just having a right hand. That's not true. Those are people speaking with emotion. That's not true. That's not true at all. And that's why with some of the comments, I don't even respond because people will say anything. That's not true. Wilder was not Muhammad goddamn Ali. Wilder had a jab, he would throw that right hand, and he would throw that clean up left hook. And then he get somebody hurt, he would go buck wild. He could turn to windmill Wilder. But let's not act like Wilder didn't have a jab. He didn't have the basics. And I'm going to tell you something. You can't get to what Wilder reached in boxing with just having a right hand. It's impossible. Because if you let people tell it, he just came in the fight the whole time, sat there with his hands up, and just kept on the right hand, only the right hand. And then the stars would line up at every fight, and he finally get lucky and land a right hand. Never threw a jab, never tried to throw a left hook, never used his feet at all. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say this motherfucker was Pernell Whitaker. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm telling you is there was a little bit more there. And you have to attribute that to Mark Breland and Jay Diaz. But you look at what's happened to him now. Like I said, let me stop and look. Let me go in. Because I can't be out here just watching a little snippet. But I do believe, I was like, from what I saw, those little excerpts, the little clips, I said, damn, that's the shit like Malik Scott. I said, let me sit back, because I just don't have the time, man. But all my boys were sleeping. I was sitting there. Normally, I've been watching this StreamYard shit, because I'm about to download StreamYard so I can start inviting people on so we can have teleconferences and chat about boxing. So while I was doing that, I had typed in Deontay Wilder, and something about Malik Scott popped up. So I said, what is this? And I saw Luis Ortiz. And I remember going to BoxRec. I'm like, yo, Malik Scott did fight Luis Ortiz and lost. So I clicked on it. A minute and a half, I was sitting here, man, goddamn falling out my chair. I said, you gotta be kidding me. I swear to God, man, it's the exact, and when I say exact replica, we're talking about performance, what Deontay Wilder did against Parker. He just it's like Malik Scott took Wilder, no kidding, and made him Malik Scott. I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. You think, for those of you who haven't watched Malik Scott against Luis Ortiz, I'm not telling you watch the full fight. Watch the first round if you can get to the end of that round. Watch the crowd booing him. Or listen to the commentators, because those commentators were even there kind of like, befuddled. Like they're trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
First impressions, Paul?
First impressions.
First impressions is that Ortiz is really trying to engage in
Ortiz is really trying to engage him.
a fight. Scott doesn't want to fight, but
Scott doesn't want to fight. Go watch it. That being said, Deontay Wilder should just retire. If he's not going to sit there and exfoliate Malik Scott from his goddamn team, he needs to retire. Just stop. Don't go any further, because Wilder's only going to get in there and lose. Wilder's still good for a payday. And Wilder still, has the right hand to where he can get a win. But against who? Okay? But against who? Because Wilder he just needs to get back to having some aggression in him. And there's nothing wrong with evolving and growing and, wanting to love everybody and kumbaya and, whatever. All right? You give me a cup of sugar, I give you a stick of butter, whatever. But goddamn, just don't be Malik Scott in the ring. That's all I'm saying. And there's no disrespect to Malik Scott. The man, look at his record, 40-something wins, I think 3 losses. That's pretty goddamn impressive. Doesn't matter if he was out there fighting a guy who works at the airport sniffing luggage. I'm just saying, to still amass a record like that, there's something there. But it wasn't enough to get him to where he was considered elite. He was considered a great. Probably made a little bit of dough, but nothing like what Deontay Wilder was doing, and where Deontay Wilder, I would say, was, because he ain't there no more. And if he's going to continue fighting, he'll never get back to where he once was if he fights with Malik Scott training him. Simple. Y'all keep cool in the breeze.